Never know what the competition's going to do. We can bridge that gap and go through it. But that's all based on new actuarial value changes. And then on here's really got it together. But what the cost share reduction, what that chess piece that the president is holding, that where that may go away, what that means. Does everybody understand that? Or maybe I just ask a better question. Does anyone not understand that? Because everybody does, then we don't need to cover it, and then we will move on. Okay, so since we all get it, that stays the way that it is. The only thing that may happen is rates may go up. Those rates are still absorbed by the subsidies. And, so we still have a low-cost plan or a zero-cost plan, just accessing the benefits on a zero deductible that they may not be there. So they're going to continue to enhance the provider directory, our relationships with doctors, making sure that we can lower costs and really focus on that. So you're going to see more things like I have on the screen now, just a termination of a gastro group that's being replaced. For those of you working down in South Florida, this is going to impact you. So you're going to see more relationships being changed, and so just changing of the networks, but adding new, stronger partners as well. They're talking about expansion of clinicianistas. More in Broward. They have the one now in Tampa, in Hillsborough County, so more expansion there as well. So I think you're going to see us give the MyBlue some extra kick by really being able to have a better network as well, because we need some help in Palm Beach, and they are adding and identifying that we need more doctors. So good stuff over there. All right, so question coming in from Peter. And let's talk about SEPs. Let's talk about, what you guys are experiencing with SEPs, enrollments, having any issues. Please, this is the platform, and let's talk about it. Once you stated that life changes made on the marketplace, if not, SEPs will not report to Blue. If income changes affect their cost share variant down, it is not an SEP. How do we make the proper adjustments? So basically, Peter, good question. What happens is that any changes made to a marketplace application are not communicated back to Florida Blue if there's no SEP. That's the really easiest way to understand it. So if you don't get an SEP on the eligibility result, I go in there, I'm changing sex, for example. Right? Let's just say that Peter calls me, I enrolled his application, but I made him Patricia by accident. And then he calls me and say, hey, by the way, my doctor says I'm listed as a female or male. Does that matter? I want to change it. It's not an SEP. And if I change my address, but I'm not, moving in a different county, that's not going to give me an SEP if I'm just changing the number. So in that case, that information not communicated back to Blue unless you get that true SEP. Come back into Blue Cross, and then once you come back into Blue Cross, make your plan selection. So if you have to do the change of name or spelling of a name, that has to be done through the member account, and then follow the process all the way through the member account, and then that will be communicated back to Florida Blue. Name changes, phone numbers, how you receive information, all of those things that are not substantial. That makes sense for everybody? So, you call Blue Cross and somebody says, my name is spelled wrong. They're going to say, oh, call the marketplace. No, you don't understand. Okay, so if I just happen to actually be in here. So if I go into my screen, let's just make sure everybody sees my screen. Right, we're good. All right, so if I'm in here and I go to process an application, I'm doing group sales. Well, I need more coffee today. If I go out here, I look up the application via IST, go to the marketplace, find it, and I make changes to the application that don't result in a special enrollment. Okay, therefore, those changes don't go into effect. So if I go in here, I had some problems logging in yesterday, so if this gives me a problem. And I look up Bill's application. Bill tells me, hey, you put my name as Bill. My name is really William. Can we go fix that? We go into the application. We change him from Bill to William. That is not going to give me an SEP at the end of the application, and therefore that information is not communicated back to Blue Cross. If there was another change, like a substantial change in income that gets them from one variant to another, if there was a move or a loss of coverage, a marriage, a birth, those SEPs where I then return back to Blue Cross and complete my application selection, that is communicated to Blue Cross in that scenario. But it must be a true SEP. So if at the end of the application you get the red box error bill, that's what that's going to mean, that those changes that you made on the marketplace, Blue Cross is never going to see. Does everybody make sense? So if you've got people in your office answering phones and they call in and say, and your customer service reps are making those changes won't effectuate an SEP. How do you make a change without an SEP? I can make the changes through reporting the life event, but the changes that I've made may not result in an SEP. Remember, the changes only have to be certain changes to give me an option to change my plan. Everybody get that? That way I can, do we all get that? If we could all say yes, or if anybody else doesn't get that, we could take it offline. But that's you have to understand that. So how would I make that change, Bill? You would make that change directly through healthcare.gov. I would log into their account on healthcare.gov using their username and password to make those changes. Correct. I said that the changes will not be sent to Blue unless there's an SEP. Everybody got that? Moving on. Okay, so good question coming through. Is Blue Select in Pinellas getting additional MDs added? Clients are really unhappy, and it is very limited panel, especially specialists. Kevin, that's interesting. I haven't heard that there's a small need or there's a need for specialists, and I'm right here in Hillsborough, Pinellas as well. If there are particular doctors that we need or particular specialist types that we need, communicate them over to GIG. We can get that over to Drew and to the network folks if there's something particular. You have to remember with Pinellas, it just depends on are you looking for gastros. Be real specific on what you have limited access to or where you're having clients that are unhappy. We could at least communicate that up and see what we've got. I have a Florida Blue member who was on the marketplace, is going on Medicare on 7/1. Okay. I think we've talked about a couple of this transition is difficult when you're going to Medicare sometimes. Florida Blue advised the member that they need to cancel on the marketplace, and then that will transfer over to Florida Blue to cancel her plan. That is correct. Would that be an SEP? They don't need an SEP. So why would she need an SEP if she's going on Medicare? She's on the marketplace and going on Medicare 7/1. So if she's new, what I guess my real concern, Alan, is why would she need an SEP? If there's another family member on the plan and you're changing that, then she's removed from the plan. That's actually not an SEP for the rest of the family. Could probably get it to work, but that technically would not be that SEP. You would have to cancel that plan. Terminating that coverage, you can terminate the coverage 14 days in advance. So, for example, if you know that she's losing that coverage 7/1, and she's the only person on that marketplace application, then you're going to want to log in there today and do it, because you have to do it, and what we've told everyone, 14 days in advance. Now, one other complication to that, and everyone should understand this as well, is that if, Ellen, she is on that policy as a dependent, and you want to remove her from that, in that scenario, you would log into the account and you would remove her from getting coverage. However, you must be careful because that removal that you're doing, again, may or may not result in an SEP, typically will not. That removal for her as a dependent has to be done on the last day of the month because the moment you remove her from the plan is the moment that's communicated back to Blue Cross. So, glad you asked that question. That was a good one. When is the provider list for My Blue HMO being updated online? I've had doctors who have not taken the plan this year and still listed as in network. I have contacted Blue several times and nothing usually changes. Well, if you're just contacting agent services, Daniel, and this is a known problem, we do and we are aware. Now, when you say the doctors aren't taking it, you've confirmed that with Blue Cross. You've confirmed that with either agent services. Yes, they're not in network, and that still was not addressed. You can send that over to, we can send it to the area manager. I don't know what part of the state you're in, but we can get that information over to them as well. Let them kind of work on it. All right. Provider directory is always a bit of a headache. Paul, you're asking a question. I think we're going back to the changes in non-SEP data. Therefore, you're asking the question, so I just want to go back to this really quick because I think some of us are confused on that. If I make a change on the marketplace, that change is not communicated back to Blue Cross. Therefore, Blue Cross is not going to take your word for it, okay? So you can't make the change, and I think what Paul is asking is, okay, I go in through IST, make the changes in the name spelling, and then I just call Blue Cross and then tell them to change. I got to do 2 steps. No, it's not going to work. It has to be done through the member account in order for those changes to be effectuated and communicated back to Blue Cross. Or the member can contact the marketplace directly and make those non-essential changes, okay? But if you call Blue Cross after the fact and say, hey, by the way, I changed it on the marketplace, that's not going to help at all. Are APOs working correctly? To the best of my knowledge, I haven't seen any huge reports of major problems. They were delayed, and at this point, you should definitely be doing reach out, and you would have heard about it, I would hope. I have 2 clients on Select that lost their providers. That happens in Broward County. They're stuck, right? Yeah. You cannot change their plan. They are off marketplace. Absolutely not. You can't. Unless there was, and if they're off marketplace, there's no change. Okay, Ellen, and if I didn't continue to answer your question, Ellen, about the removal of the Medicare folk, let me know. The Medicare folk, that was pretty funny. I like that. Many clients are calling with plan terminations due to non-payments. Oh, hold on. Want to address Amanda, you got this question. Many clients are calling with Blue Cross plan terminating due to non-payment. All of these clients that have contacted me were originally on auto draft and somehow taken off. Has this been happening frequently? Also, many clients are not receiving their invoices through the mail or the correspondence from Blue about payments. Okay, well, we can go back to this one, but let's kind of talk about it. A couple of questions here, Amanda. Are these clients that are getting terminated on marketplace or off? Because quite frankly, if they're off marketplace, they haven't only not paid 1 bill, but they haven't paid 3 consecutive bills, 90 days grace period. So that would be something. If that is the case, if they're off marketplace, if they're on marketplace, then that means that they have not paid for 3 months in a row. Why were they not getting invoices? Because when we set up the application, or potentially when you set up the application, you put them to electronic communications. Therefore, they would have had to verify their email address to get their electronic communications as well. They may or may not have been contacted. You can contact agent services, and they will be able to see when they mailed particular items to your client. And if they didn't do their due diligence in contacting, Blue Cross didn't, and just terminated their plan arbitrarily, then we can get that fixed. The APO problem was probably about 3 or 4 months ago that we were all probably aware of. So I don't know if, we were communicating that out. Blue Cross had lots of folks that were taken off of APO. Payments were failed, and so that could be part of that. I need some more details, but it's probably where the best place to start, agent services, and see what they were sent, how many times they were sent it. That's probably part of it as well. No, I don't know how many there are also. If marketplace plan is canceled more than 14 days in advance, my Medicare member, is that an issue? Well, it's only an issue because they won't have insurance for 14 days. So I would just tell them to be very careful for those 14 days, but they will not be insured. If you canceled it incorrectly because you canceled it ahead of time and then there was a major claim, you're going to have to go through a HICS escalation. You're going to have to go through all kinds of other hoops to get that fixed for your customer, and that's going to be challenging. So I wouldn't do it more than 14 days in advance. If you already did it 14 days in advance, you may want to talk to them about a short-term medical or some other line of protection, or again, just tell them to be very, very, very careful. It's a really good question. That's Kevin, it's a great question. Is the diagnostic clinic lab in Clearwater the one that's owned in the diagnostic, I'm assuming, not the Quest, in network for Blue Select? The Blue store told the client, no, go to Quest. Florida customer service said, yes, go to diagnostic clinic. But Florida Blue will tell you to go to Quest. Client is concerned about a confusing answer. So I'll verify 100%. We've gone back and forth on this in the Medicare arena for years, and we don't send anyone to we tell them all to go to Quest because then it's going to be at the low or no cost. I don't know, to be quite honest with you, off the top of my head. Gig, you don't know off the top of your head, do you? But I'll find out for you, Kevin, and I want to triple check before I say one way or the other. My answer to your customer would be go to Quest. I mean, that would be they may not like it, but they end up in Medicare, they end up getting a charge. So there's some sort of fee or share of cost. It's not Quest. So on their plan, if they have a zero copay for blood work, tell them to go to Quest. It'd be my advice. But we'll check into it. All right. So any challenges on other enrollments or billing? I'm sorry, Amanda, I don't have any incredible words of wisdom. I just need to know more details because it's confusing. Continue to push those. Watch. People are getting terminated. I'm really hoping that we're going to have some better data coming out very soon. So that way you guys will be able to have a better line of sight with terminations and late pays. We've been pushing really hard to get you that information. So I'm really keeping my fingers crossed. We've had several meetings about it, and hopefully we get something good. I'm looking for some daily reports on delinquencies every single day because that changes. That might, even once a week, I would just be very happy with, so we have a clear view of who's paying, who's not paying, and those kind of things. I want to advise everyone, just, make sure you're keeping your eye on your commissions. Watching things, communicating with Gigi, any concerns or things that you need to go. I agree with Amanda. Blue Cross has to address those issues. It has seriously hurt us all. What issues are you talking about, Justin? Again, we've got a 90-day grace period for folks that if we are talking about people who were terminated, in most cases, they're fixable. So if you're getting pushback where someone won't be reinstated, if someone is just saying, well, there has to be some level, I hate to say this, and I really do, please don't take it the wrong way, because we're getting lots of them fixed. And we want to continue to get lots of them fixed, right? So, work with agent services, work with Gigi, you know, we have some great lines of communications with agent services. Blue Cross is doing things to address that and fix it. And I hate to err on the side because it was their screw up, right? But you were talking 3 months of people not paying their health insurance. I mean, you know, I understand we don't look, right? But we've communicated with all of our customers. The people who were impacted were communicated. You know, if Amanda's client didn't get communication because the email address was wrong, you know, there's things that you can do. Now, Justin also, and Amanda as well, which I'm sure others agree with her, and Justin, it sucks, right? Great. But you know, we have got to make sure we were communicating all of that information to all of our customers via email. You know, we had people that called in, you know, they just have some level of responsibility for that as well. You know, all of us. And with all the people that were trying to remind them, there were some people that slipped through the cracks, and hopefully you can get them fixed. Most of the time we can. Blatant, not so much, but, you know, truly an oversight. It's clear they're willing to pay 3 months of premiums back. We had a lady just the other day, same scenario, owed $3,600 worth of premiums. No problem. She, you know, missed her payment, lost her subsidy, was, you know, out of the country, wherever they were. We got it to resolve to where she had to write a check for $3,600. And then that was a whole nother issue. But anyway, yes, got it done, back reinstated. It can be done. Unfortunately, it just takes a little bit of work and time. And, you know, there's all that balance. All right. Well, I think I don't really have much else I think that's important for today's call. Does anybody have anything else that concerns them you want to talk about? I'll definitely look into those provider issues. I don't know. I have yet to. I have not identified if Giggy has had fun at the U2 concert. I sure hope so. I think so. I hope so. Medicare ? What's the question? You want Medicare? We don't have filings are not done. Benefits are not released. Things are looking stable. I don't have any magic information. Is that what we meant? I try. All right, everybody. So I hope everybody has a great day today. Enjoy. Have a good weekend. Any issues, let us know, and we'll go from there. All right. Have a great day. Thank you.